There's already so much infighting inside the Republican Party and inside of Trump's White House. I mean, this is something that we have known was going to happen. We saw it in his last term. I mean, his office was a revolving door. If you remember the Elon Musk of the 2016 administration was Steve Bannon, and he did not last very long in the White House.
So, Ryan, what was your reaction to Trump's inaugural address?
You know, I thought it showed a dystopian America that I don't live in and that I probably will live in the next 4 years. But, Biden was a really good president. I mean, he accomplished a whole lot of things for this country and didn't get credit because of a disinformation campaign that was going about through MAGA. And that's really unfortunate. So, I mean, the picture that he presented of, I think he declared a state of an emergency at our border yesterday. That's just not a thing. And right now, I mean, I'm sitting here in Pensacola, Florida Panhandle, expecting a major snowstorm in the next 2 hours. This is the first time this has happened in a long time here, if ever, maybe 6 inches, right? You have California with the wildfires. You've got, what's happened up in North Carolina with the hurricane season. We need as much help as we can get. And to declare a state of emergency at our border when right now Mexico is sending their best, their firefighters, to help us in California is just, it's wrong.
Do you think that this will be a presidency of revenge?
Yes, without question. He's already said it would be.
We've seen some of his cabinet appointees be grilled by the Senate. But interestingly, RFK Jr., his hearing remains unscheduled. I mean, that one kind of promises to be a doozy. Do you think that that one's going to go through?
I think that they are likely to give Donald Trump whatever he wants. I mean, Donald Trump is in a very unique position where he controls all three branches of government right now. I think they're likely to give him whatever he wants. But, on the other side of that, he owns every single thing that happens. It's going to be impossible to blame anything on the Democrats or anyone else after his presidency.
I mean, kind of talking about that, we saw this like blizzard of executive orders, but today on Times Radio, they were talking about how a lot of them will face legal challenges. It's not actually possible to do an executive order on birthplace citizenship. That's a constitutional right.
Yeah.
And so, he's creating a lot of problems that weren't necessarily there originally. That's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yes.
Surely at some point that's going to start to backfire.
Well, I mean, you would hope so. I mean, the thing is, though, is like I said, he has the highest court in the land. So even if things do face court challenges, it can only go so high, and the highest court in the land is the Supreme Court. I mean, it's going to be a tough 4 years. There's no doubting that. And anybody who tries to claim it's going to resemble anything like normalcy is lying to you. This is going to be nuts. We are in uncharted territory. I know our country has never been through anything like this. So, I mean, my big hope is that, the people who are in your audience do realize that not all Americans are this crazy MAGA thing. Not all of Americans agree with what he's doing. Not all Americans ever agreed with what he's doing. And some of us are continuing to fight him despite, it being dangerous to our own livelihood. So I hope that, I know that we're getting a bad rap for this and we absolutely deserve it. But I hope that there are people out there who do realize that not all Americans are this.
The Times also wrote today that Ivanka Trump won't be in the White House this time around, that Melania is going to be there from the get-go. In terms of Trump's kind of like personal relationships, it feels like his kids are going to have less of a front and center role, and it's going to be Melania and then Elon Musk. I mean, why do you think that they're kind of taking a bit more of a backseat this time around?
I think that there is a prenup in place with Melania Trump and Donald Trump. And in his last term, there was a lot known about the disagreements between Ivanka and Melania. So I think that that's part of it. I think, there is something with Ivanka and her husband, Jared, where they don't really want a whole lot of bad publicity. They still want to go to Met Galas. They still want to have their life as socialites. So I think that that's part of it. I haven't seen that Don Jr. Or Eric is going to really take a back seat. So there's that. I think that, you know, it's like I said, nepotism is never a good thing, and nepotism in the White House is not a good thing. Nepotism is less awful than having two foreign entities controlling your president. And Melania Trump was not born in the United States. She is a foreign entity, and so is Elon Musk. And I think that that's a very dangerous thing for this country because they're not necessarily looking out for the best interest of the United States or of, you know, our geopolitics. They are looking out for stacking their own pocketbooks.
Do you think you could see some kind of sort of future disagreements start to happen between Elon Musk and Melania Trump as they kind of vie for influence? I mean, we heard that Elon Musk has basically moved into Mar-a-Lago and he's going to have an office in the White House.
Well, I mean, listen, there's already so much infighting inside the Republican Party and inside of Trump's White House. I mean, this is something that we have known was going to happen. We saw it in his last term. I mean, his office was a revolving door. If you remember the Elon Musk of the 2016 administration was Steve Bannon, and he did not last very long in the White House. So, I mean, it's a loyalty thing. No one can outshine Donald Trump. I mean, that's part of him being a narcissist. Elon Musk is trying to outshine Donald Trump, and that doesn't tend to work out well when it comes to narcissists.
What other kind of infighting are you guys seeing?
Oh, I mean, they're everything. I mean, you know, we looked at when Hegseth was facing a problem with potentially getting confirmed. We watched him, you know, look to put someone else in that spot. We looked at him putting Ron DeSantis in there. I think that you have the people who were on the campaign who are used to campaigns where you say a lot of things that you may or may not actually do, versus the people who are diehard and really wanting chaos in this country and wanting to see the fall of democracy. And I think that that is inside of the Trump campaign. I think that is inside of his White House. I think that's inside of his political operation. So I think that you have the establishment Republicans versus this other monster of MAGA, and I think that that's going to cause a lot of infighting on the future of our country.
Vivek Ramaswamy, he's no longer heading the Department of Government Efficiency alongside Elon Musk, kind of a sign of Elon Musk's growing influence in that circle. But Elon Musk made, you know, the gesture on stage yesterday, which people on social media are comparing to a Nazi salute. He then said those kind of attacks are tired. But, you know, you would have thought even, you know, in Trump's last term, had somebody done that in his inner circle, they would have been forced to resign or apologize or do something, whereas that's not really happened this time around.
No, and on top of that, Elon Musk has not denied that that's what it was. He has never claimed that that was a misunderstanding. I think anybody who actually watches the video, there is no misunderstanding that exactly what he was doing. And so, I mean, listen, whether that is to troll or not to troll, that is a very dangerous sign to be sending from an inauguration of at the seat of the free world. And so, I mean, listen, when Trump was president last time, he let a lot of things go. Whether it was white nationalism or anti-Semitism or, you know, whatever. You're seeing that again. I mean, it should scare everyone who is watching this, the how closely what we are seeing right now in America mimics what we saw in 1930s Germany. It should worry people. You have some very crazy, very dangerous people at the helm, and they are unchecked. It is up to we, the people, and the geopolitical, you know, allies to hold this nation and hold him accountable.
If we turn to the Democrats for a second, there's 2 years until the midterms and then 4 years until the next general election. I mean, what do they need to start doing in order to, you know, rebuild after their defeat?
I'm going to say this, and it is a highly unpopular thing to say, but it is time that someone says it. They've got to start listening. So Democrats have a really bad habit of wanting to be right more than they want to win. Okay. And I mean, I've seen it. I mean, this past week I went on to Blue Sky and I said, hey guys, don't tune out the election. Like, we have to watch. We're the custodians of history. And I got completely blasted for saying that. And I mean, the thing is like we can't come after our own. The Democrats can't come after their own. They have to start listening to middle America. And you know what? Middle America may not be completely as educated as some of the people who are sitting in these ivory towers are, but you can't teach them if you're belittling them. You can't show them a way if you are calling them stupid. You have to understand where they're coming from to be able to fight them, to be able to change minds. You can't just dig your feet in the sand. And so what I'm seeing a lot with the progressive left is I'm seeing a reaction very similar to what MAGA is, where it is all or nothing. They're willing to, cancel anyone who disagrees with them. They're willing to, put their heads in the sand rather than fight. And again, in Germany, we saw this. We saw that, he did not win by 50% of the vote. Hitler did not win by 50% of the vote, but the people who did not vote for him were so disgusted by him that they just turned their backs and put their head in the sand. And that is how millions of people ended up in ovens. We've got to pay attention. We've got to start listening to our fellow Americans. We've got to stop belittling them and berating them before we understand what they're saying and where they're coming from. We need to give people an opportunity to tell us why in the world they wanted to go down this road again. There was something, because this is a president who won the popular vote and won the electoral college vote for the first time in a really long time. And this is after a defeat in 2020. So in order for the Democrats to have any success, in order for democracy to survive, we're going to have to do more listening and less talking. We're going to have to form opinions based on what is fact versus what we're assuming. And that's a really hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do, to listen to nonsense and to listen to things that make you uncomfortable. But if we are going to change this world, we have to.
You said at the start of the interview that there's some snow coming to where the Florida Panhandle,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously Florida is not equipped to be able to handle that. But Florida is a Republican state compared to California, where we've seen the wildfires, votes Democrat. Do you think that it's likely that where you live, you're likely to see more rebuilding, more support for that compared to California, that he might try to kind of withhold resources as a kind of revenge tactic?
No, we know that he's going to do that. He did that in his first term. He refused. I mean, he didn't give real aid to Puerto Rico after they got clocked twice by major hurricanes. He's already said that that's not how he's going to operate. He's going to be blue state versus red state. If you support me, you get the world. If you don't, you don't get anything. And that's not how we operate as a country either. I mean, the entire reason the United States was formed was as a United States and not individual states, was to, one, protect our borders and protect our people, both foreign and domestically, and two, was to deliver mail. So one of the things that you were formed to do, you were just choosing not to do. And I think that there's going to be, those kinds of political tactics, the revenge and all of that sort of thing, it doesn't sit well, because ultimately Americans are not all are far rights. And there are a lot of us here who still have empathy for our neighbors and still see natural disasters, and it just breaks our heart. And I think that if he shows cruelty as opposed to compassion in this moment, I think he will already lose a big chunk of the American people that he may have had that were moderates. And I also think that, the United States House has such a slim margin right now. And there are several Republicans who are members of Congress who are from California, and they cannot afford to lose a single vote in the House. And so I think that kind of thing is going to temper him a little bit. I think that the political calculus there is that he is going to have to compromise and do some things he may not want to do in order to keep the ability to, keep the House and to keep some political collateral and capital.